It's Wednesday, August the 6th. Hard to believe, 2025. Brendan, love the cup. It's official. You're awesome. You are the best executive producer on the planet. If you had any idea what goes on behind the scenes, you'd see Brendan Martin in the flesh to make this all happen. We're broadcasting live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Take a picture with your cell phone of the QR code and watch the show live. Subscribe. Share it with your friends, families, neighbors, coworkers, esteemed colleagues, or whatever. Look, we got a great one today. This is one of those guests that I've been told for a long time. We've had Barry on before, but not in the video format. Barry Trammel, 48 years, a sports writer, formerly of the Daily Oklahoman, now the Tulsa World. Got in the newspaper business when he was 17. You love these guys. It's like Brendan's dad, Buddy Martin. It's a passion, true grit journalism. We'll talk about Oklahoma and the SEC Network documentary Wishbone, which he's a big part of, following that Sooner program for a long time. Dudley Dawson, hogville.net, and Vince Ferrara, the sports animal, in Knoxville, recovering from hip surgery. He's doing great, back at work already. Work's the greatest healer of them all, along with love. So we'll be with you for the next 60 minutes, the best coverage on the SEC anywhere. Let's get
Hour of power.
Yeah, hour of power. That's right. Let's head on out to Tulsa, Oak City, the great state of Oklahoma. Barry Trammel, good morning. You've been doing this a while. You've seen a lot of stuff happening in college sports. But before we talk about Oklahoma, I want to tell you, I hope you get some kind of an award, you and Kirk Bowles, for what you did on that Wishbone documentary. Because growing up in Memphis as a kid, I'm an Auburn grad, Brendan, Florida, but we had a good friend of ours, Buddy Leak, who played football at Oklahoma. Great family.
Memphis man.
Yeah, played at Christian Brothers and played handball with my dad forever. And then in 79, said, I'm going to move my family back to Oklahoma City and sell insurance. And had that website, Southern Fried Sooner. And and Jeff Mann and other people I know that are Oklahoma grads, been following that program for a long time. I think the only thing more ultimate than this, have you and Barry Switzer on here at the same time, because that man still looks like he could coach. But welcome aboard. Thanks for sharing your time with us. And let's talk about Oklahoma and the Wishbone.
Well, let's do it. I apologize. I got myself a summer cough. So
you're good.
Trying to keep it curtailed, but I never had allergies till I turned 55, and now I get allergies all the time. So
yeah,
just the way it goes.
You're good. You're good. Barry Switzer said something. They averaged in the early 70s, 472 yards a game rushing. And what that did for Oklahoma football to get them where they are now. Kind of, let's start there.
Well, what it did is the Wishbone in 1970, when they put it in, really exploded in 71. It reinvigorated, relaunched the next Oklahoma dynasty. The Bud Wilkinson days were unbelievably. They were Nick Saban-esque without the playoff success, because there was no playoff.
Yeah.
But in the last 4 or 5 years of Wilkinson, and then the rest of the 1960s, were not great times in Oklahoma football. And Nebraska rose up, and Missouri was good, and other people, and all of a sudden Oklahoma was not the belle of the ball in the Big Eight. And then here came the installation of the Wishbone, and just an explosion. Sooners were back on top and stayed there for most of the next 20 years under Barry Switzer.
Yeah, and then you look at what Oklahoma, back in the Dust Bowl in the 30s, the governor said, we're going to make Sooner sports king. And it's amazing what's happened. Now, Oklahoma in year 2 of the SEC. What is your opinion of, hey, this was a great move, it was the best thing we could do going forward, or, hey, why'd they do this?
Well, I mean the move was made for financial reasons, and that's panning out. I mean, you can't gripe about a move that you get exactly what you went after. We've seen the shift in college football economics, both on the recruiting edge with having to pay players, and also on the media edge, or the media frontier with the limited number of the conferences shrinking, the big dogs getting more and more of the pie. Oklahoma wanted to be part of that, and so hence the move. It's interesting. Joe Castiglione apparently recommended at the outset, sometime around 2020, looking down the road, he told the president, we're going to have to move, and Big Ten or SEC. And the president revealed that. We hadn't heard that in, over the years until Joe Castiglione's sort of retirement announcement. And the president said that Joe came to us and said, hey, we got to go to the Big Ten or the SEC. So I guess we could start a good debate on if they made the right decision going to the SEC instead of the Big Ten. I think they did. I think most people would say they did. I don't even know if the Big Ten would have them. The Big Ten's pretty snooty. Oklahoma's not a member of the AAU, the Association of American Universities. Not since Michigan State in 1950 has the Big Ten added a school that's not a member of the AAU, and Michigan State soon got there, I think. So may not have even been an issue, but clearly the Sooners felt like economically they had to go, and economically it's going to work out for them because they now are sort of selfish. They're assured of being part of the upper rung financially, and you got to be there with this new economic reality.
Yeah, and I think Oklahoma's 5th or 6th winningest program all time, 52 conference championships, 7 national championships, 7 Heisman Trophy winners. A fan base, to say that they're rabid and passionate is underselling them. I've been out in Oklahoma. You look at Oak City, Norman, that ADI now is about 2.1 million. A lot of people moving in there. We got a hell of a rivalry, Grizzlies and the Thunder in NBA basketball. You've been covering it, college football, for a long time. We've seen obstacles along the way. Where do you compare, NIL and the portal with previous potholes in the road?
Well, I mean, I think the money has just gotten so big. I was stunned the other day. Bob Simmons coached Oklahoma State football 95 to 2000, not that long ago. And his son, a former OSU tailback, was tragically killed over the weekend. And they're actually doing a fundraising drive. Nathan Simmons did not have life insurance, so his family's doing a fundraising drive. And if a college football coach's family was affected like that today, the last thing you would think about is economics, or that they might be financially strapped. Went back and looked. Bob Simmons' salary in his last year was $140,000 a year, or maybe it's 160. And maybe with perks, the median stuff, it probably went over 200, 210, 220, something like that. That wasn't that long ago, 25 years ago. And now, if you pay a coach $3 million, it's the ultimate insult. So just the numbers have become so staggering that it's nothing like it used to be. I remember in the 70s when the arms race, Nebraska sort of started the arms race with facilities and things. And, the size of the weight room was what we measured things by. Oh, Nebraska's got a, 20,000 square foot weight room. So everybody tried to get into the 10 or 12 or 14,000 square. And you look how all that's changed. And even that was pretty quaint when you look at what we're paying assistant coaches and general managers and the new scouting department. And it's just become an explosion of personnel, and keeping up financially is just an incredible burden on all of these universities. And I don't, the people in the Big Ten and the SEC, and frankly, the Big 12 and ACC will keep up as well on some level, but I don't know how everybody else is going to keep. So it's going to be some that go by the wayside because you just can't justify the money that's going to be required to compete on this platform.
Yeah, and we lost Bedlam, which is a hell of a rivalry. I mean, Oklahoma dominated it, but that's awful. You said something on that podcast I watched with Cousin Shane on that SEC podcast. I love it. The football coach at BYU. Hey, talk about what his proposal is. I think it's brilliant. I want to give you credit for bringing that to the public.
I'm going to credit Kalani Sitake because he came to Frisco, Texas, Big 12 Media Days, and somebody asked him about the schedule, and he said, well, he said, we got 3 non-conference games. I wish we'd play a team from each of the other 3 big leagues, play somebody from the Big Ten, play somebody from the SEC, play somebody from the ACC. I mean, that goes back to, the differences in the sport from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
We just now naturally accept this idea that everybody's entitled to 2 automatic wins, or in the SEC, 3 automatic wins. It's like you have to have it. It's oxygen. You'll expire if you don't have it. It's not the way it used to be. You used to play real teams. If you didn't play a real team, at least in the Big 8, you were, and Pac-12 was very similar too. If you didn't play a real team, you were sort of scorned. You were looked down upon. You looked like a bully, you looked like a weasel. And now it's just common practice. It's accepted. I mean, and it's not just the SEC. It's throughout the Big Ten. I mean, Michigan, Ohio State have won national titles the last 2 years, playing all rum-dums in the non-conference. Penn State's doing the same thing this year, copycatting. And people are just saying, I actually don't know how coaches look their players in the eye and try to get them up for playing Kent State and Wyoming or Northern Arizona or Alabama, Birmingham, whoever they might be playing, and compete. But we're going to play 3 teams that are exhibition games, and you won't have to play more than a quarter and a half. It just, to me, I understand the economics. I understand that you got to have 7 home games, or preferably 8, and you end up with a team like Georgia. Georgia has 3 road games this year. They got 12 games. They got 3 road games. Let me tell you who'd like to have 3 road games this year. The Green Bay Packers would like to have 3 road games. They would have a heck of a year if you gave Green Bay 3 road games.
That's right. Well, I go back. I remember when I was at Auburn, 1987, I went up to New York to apply for an internship, had to fly back Thursday, got it late Thursday night, had to be there 6:30 Friday morning to work for ESPN. Auburn opened up with Texas non-conference, okay? And they played Kansas that year non-conference, Georgia Tech, of course, in Atlanta, a normal rival. They also played non-conference. We went to Chapel Hill that year and played Florida State in between Florida and Georgia and then Alabama. That was your non-conference schedule.
Yeah, it was real football. And, in the Big 8, the school that embodied that in the old Big 8 was Missouri. Missouri'd play anybody, come and take on anybody. And one of my favorite teams of all time was 1990 Colorado. That's the Bill McCartney team that won the national title.
Oh, yeah.
And here was Colorado's non-conference schedule in 1990. They played Tennessee, Stanford, Illinois, Texas, and Washington. That was their non-conference schedule. They played 5 non-conference games because they got that extra. They played one of those preseason games. I can't remember if it's in the Meadowlands. That Tennessee game was in August. And out of those 5, 4 of them represented their their conference in the biggest bowl game possible. Like Illinois went to the Rose Bowl that year, and Texas went to the Cotton Bowl, and Colorado used that springboard. They lost one, tied one, but ended up winning the Big 8, won their bowl game over Notre Dame, won the national title. And today, we wouldn't even think about a team attempting something like that. We've got some people that are exemplary. I salute Alabama this year. Crimson Tide's playing Wisconsin and Florida State. South Carolina's playing Virginia Tech and Clemson. Florida's playing Florida State and Miami. So we see people doing it on some level, but here's I forgot what coach said this. Might have been Eli Drinkwitz, but he said, our players and our fans want games like that. He said, who are we playing? What are we doing this for? What does this whole thing exist for? And if we take care of the most important people, the players and the fans who make it possible, then maybe this scheduling needs to change. The problem we have is we have a college football committee who last season delivered the worst blow for good scheduling in the history of the sport, because the decisions they made were so pathetic that they stood on a mountain with a megaphone and said, "Do not lose. Whatever you do, do not lose. We will penalize you. We will slap you. We will make sure that you pay if you lose a football game." And if you're a team that has, visions of playoff success, you follow what the committee says. And that's what the committee said to do. The committee said play New Mexico State, not Texas. The committee said play Mercer, not Michigan. That's what the committee said. So people are just following suit.
We're going to get General Rich Clark on the show here soon. In fact, I talked to him, and I know you did too, at Media Days in Atlanta. We got to do that. And he's our age. I mean, General Clark, he played at Air Force back in the mid-'80s. And I agree with you. I've got a friend who's a season ticket holder. He's got 2 kids and his wife. And he goes, I spent $25,000 to have this spot. And there's 3 games on the schedule. They're not even worth getting out of bed for. And I mean, you've got the power and the gravitas to push that narrative, Barry, nationally. What we need is a group of writers who will push it and that are not afraid to make people feel uncomfortable. Because I'm with you. It's I'm going down to Atlanta to see our daughter. I'm going to go to I'm going to Tennessee, Syracuse, and I'm going to go to South Carolina, Virginia Tech.
Oh,
I'm going to go. I'm going, and I wish I could be at Auburn, Baylor in Waco, and that's going to be a heck of a matchup. But I'm with you. I am so glad to hear you say this about the schedules. And Brendan, you know how big a deal it is to play Florida State. Now you're playing Miami. I mean, I remember the bumper stickers in 1983 when Miami won that national title, said Florida 27, Miami 3, Florida 27, national champions 3. That's a big game too.
Yeah. Well, it's a big game. It's a big rival game because it's in state. Florida is, one of those states where you could just do a whole website about the teams of Florida, history of Florida. I mean, we're talking to one of those guys today, aren't we, Rob, on the Auburn show with Terry Bowden, and all these guys, hearing these coaches and former players talking. Now, Barry, I'm from Colorado. My dad's Buddy Martin, so he was working at the Denver Post at the time. I went to a lot of those games in 1990. And you're right about everything you say there. Quite a difference situation that we're in right now when we're looking at scheduling, especially with the SEC involved. Texas, is touted as they're going to have an easy season next year. They're going to be the best team, and they're going to walk through and win the whole thing. I don't think it's that easy in the SEC. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, that's the SEC fallback. Always has been, and there's truth to it, that hey, the conference schedule is tough enough. Now, one of the residues of the expanded conferences, 16 teams in the SEC, 18 teams in the Big Ten, is the best teams don't collide that often. And we saw that last year with Penn State in the Big Ten, Indiana in the Big Ten, Indiana particularly. Indiana was not a playoff team last year. They just got, just a cushy road in conference, very, very easy non-conference. I think they played 2 of the top 8 teams in the Big Ten last year, and neither one of them was Ohio State, and the next one I think was Michigan and Washington, in the middle of the league, and Penn State as well. Penn State clearly belonged in the playoff. Texas also got a very easy schedule. You compare what Texas has this year and last year with what Florida has gotten and what Oklahoma's gotten. Mississippi State, nobody cares about the Bulldogs right now, but they were loaded up with a horrifically tough schedule. And you're going to see lopsided schedules within the conference. Just, I don't know of a way to fix that. But that's the fallback. Oh, it's so tough in the SEC. We got to play Louisiana Tech. We got to play Louisiana Monroe. We got to play anybody with the name Louisiana in it, as long as it's not LSU. So that's the defense. But it rings hollow with me because it's anti-competition. It's anti-competition. The Big 12 went into business marketing-wise with WWE, the World Wrestling Entertainment. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know what the Big 12 is going to do with the WWE. I'm a little scared to ask because I think it's absurd. I don't know why a sporting enterprise would align itself with somebody who pretends to be a sporting enterprise, but is actually fraudulent and fake. Why would you plant any seeds in anybody's mind that, hey, they're fake, we're not, but we're going to go into business together? That seems absurd. But basically, these 3 games that most SEC teams are playing, that 2 games that most Big Ten teams are playing, are fraudulent. They're not fake, but they're predetermined. Oklahoma in this non-conference, they're playing Michigan. Great game on September 6th. There are other 3 games this year. Illinois State, Temple, Kent State. Those aren't just mid-majors. They are unbelievably bad football teams. I mean, this is actually, I have no idea if Illinois State's any good. They're 1AA. They give out 63 scholarships, so they're in the lower division. Temple's terrible. Kent State might be the worst of the 136 FBS teams. These are scrimmages. You know, my granddaughter goes to Norman North High School, plays softball. They had a scrimmage last night. Norman North's one of the bigger schools in the state. They're Class 6A. They had a scrimmage last night against a school with 338 kids in the high school. You know, about 7 times smaller. Now, I mean, we'd never have a game like that in the regular season in softball or anything else. And yet we're doing it in college football and calling it a game. If you want to have a spring scrimmage, knock yourself out with Temple. Knock yourself out with Kent State. But don't charge $100 a ticket and put it on the SEC network and have the SEC network on Saturday after the game say, oh, here's some Oklahoma highlights. Well, of course there's Oklahoma highlights. They're playing Kent State. So I just find the whole thing borderline offensive and just nonsensical. Somebody needs to stand up and say, what is going on here?
Yeah. And I totally agree with you because, you know, you pay too much money for this. It's an insult. And now you've got more people, you got 90,000 in these stadiums and 50 or 60,000 outside tailgating. Everybody wants to be there, but a lot of those people don't even go into the game. They just watch it. You know, you got the tents set up. Let's talk. I know you got a hard out at 8:30, but Oklahoma, Brent Venables, your thoughts on what you think happens. We have Chris Plank show. He comes on with us, and we've had some great Oklahoma folks. But, you know, Brent Venables is in year 4. I can't even imagine a buyout in this day and age of the House settlement because that's a gratuity on top of anything you do. So he's got to win. I think he will. I got him in my top 6.
Well, I think Oklahoma's got a chance for a good team, maybe better than a good chance. I think they probably are a good team. The schedule is very difficult in conference. You know, they've got just the home schedule is LSU, Ole Miss, Auburn, and whoever I'm missing, Missouri. Got Texas and Dallas. They go to Alabama, they go to South Carolina, and they go to Tennessee. So they don't really have a gimme in the SEC. Probably need to win 4 games, go 4-4 to assure themselves of a winning season. So I think they're going to have a good team. Does that mean they're going to have a good record? I don't know. But you talked about the buyout. I'm with you. If they want to buy out Brent Venables, it's going to be north or south, just barely of $30 million. And I don't know where that kind of money comes from. Where's that? Do you really have? I mean, Texas A&M's got oil wells. We know where Texas A&M got the money. But everybody else, Florida State wants to buy out Mike Norvell. Southern Cal wants to buy out Lincoln Riley. Oklahoma wants to buy out Brent Venables. Where is that money at? Is all the gold in California in the middle of a bank in Beverly Hills? I don't know where this money is. Yeah. If there's money like that available, how come you're not spending it already on linebackers and defensive ends and quarterbacks? I don't understand.
I agree with you. And I don't know what T. Boone Pickens left. I think he gave $350 million to Oklahoma State. But when you deal with people with a lot of money, they're not stupid. And they'll only do this stuff for so long, Barry.
Yeah.
You know that. And you know the pulse of Oklahoma. We got to get you back on. I cannot thank you enough for sharing your time with us. Your candor and honesty when we have you on, or Buddy or Tony Barnhart, y'all tell it like it is. Let people know how they can follow you and what you're writing about. And also for people that have never been to Norman, give a couple of maybe good restaurants or places where they can get a cold road soda when they make the trip to Norman, because we're going out for the Auburn game this year.
Yeah.
I am fired up about it.
My favorite restaurant in Norman is Legends. It's casual dining, but it's just a classic old place. Been there since the 60s. It's great. On campus, you got O'Connell's Irish Pub right on the campus corner. It's a place people love to congregate. It was actually a catty corner to the stadium for decades and decades. Now Athletic Dorm is now sitting where O'Connell's used to be, so they had to move north of campus. But that's a good place. But and then just go to the TulsaWorld.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Barry Trammel, BerryTramel, and every day in the Tulsa World. So a lot of good stuff in there about Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. Yeah. And also I love me the NBA. That you're right. The Grizzlies, I think Thunder Grizzlies have had 4 playoff series now in the last 15 years. So it's becoming quite a rivalry.
Yeah, it really is, and it's an easy trip to get out there to Norman. I-40, just go west. But Barry, again, how can they follow you on Twitter and all your social media?
He's at Barry Trammel. He just
at Barry. Okay,
at
sorry,
Barry Trammel. Yeah, and I'm not outside of the Twitter, which I don't get on it much, just to let you know what I've written. That's the best way to find me, or just go to TulsaWorld.com.
I just retweeted you there, Barry, and when you get on there, you'll see it. So thank you, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right, we'll do it again soon. Thanks so much, sir.
Yes.
That is great stuff. Brendan, you talk about Colorado, that 1990, that schedule, that just blows I remember watching Tennessee and Colorado 1990 on a Sunday afternoon.
I put it up right here at the bottom, so we'll get to it, but you'll see as it goes by the scores, who they played. I mean, look at that. They tied 31-31 September 6th versus Sanford. They win at Illinois, and then they lost the 22nd in 1990 at Texas. But that wasn't, so that was a conference schedule with them. So it was set to if you look at the reason I put it up there is you look at the wins 33-31 against Missouri. The closeness of these games was something else. But we got a guy in here. I'm still trying to find out what his safe word is, and Dudley Dawson is joining the program. Somewhere in what number hole are you on? What are you playing right there, Dudley?
16. It's 16. Yeah.
16. And
the safe word is possum grape here at the Dawson, which is over there by Newport.
2 words though.
Dudley, was talking with a good friend of mine yesterday whose son is got
it's
a
one
year
word
and
if you say it right.
Oh, right. Quickly, really fast.
Oh, possum.
Possum grape.
Yeah.
Possum grape. Barry, Dudley got a call from a friend of mine. She's got 3 boys. The first 2 have already graduated from Fayetteville. Got another one. He's got a year and a half to go in the Architorture program.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's pretty high attrition rate. And she said, Scott and I were looking at places up here. We said, this is a nice little place we could buy to come up here on the weekends. $3.6 million. I mean, you're like, what? I mean, college towns, not only is there players getting legally being paid, coaches getting ridiculous amounts of money, these college towns are attracting people in droves. 34,000 and growing on campus in Fayetteville. Incredible. Here we go, year 2 in the Petrino.
There was less than that when I moved up here in 1981. When Charles Ballantyne and I came here, there was less. I mean, there was right at 30,000 overall in Fayetteville, not 34,000 students. So it's been growing since I've been up here. We have somebody said from the corridor from Fort Smith to Bentonville, 200 new people move in every day. So,
holy cow! We heard yesterday Nashville's got 100 people moving in a day. 200. Well, I think there's 600,000 up in the northwest corner. If you ain't been to Fayetteville, when you go there, your head's going to spin around on a swivel. Springdale, Rogers, Fayetteville. And then you go to Bentonville, and you go to the Walton Museum. Alice Walton found some change in the couch cushion. I want that George Washington portrait, $50 million. It's like,
Sam Walton's first store was in Newport, but he had to leave that store because a brother came home from war and the owner gave him that store. And so Newport could have been Bentonville.
Wow. But still 8,000 people right there near Grubbs and the Blue Jays. I'm just, saying that. But Dudley, welcome aboard. Thanks for being on here with us. Love your report. We had Barry Trammel on from Tulsa World.
Barry's a good dude. He's been around. I think we've been around about the same amount of time.
Yeah.
I'm glad that one of the reasons I'm glad Oklahoma's in the SEC is to concentrate more on his writing. He's been a good dude over these years, and that and like me, he'll say whatever he comes to mind and not worry about who likes it, who doesn't.
Yeah, and he was one of those guys. People kept saying, "You've got to find a way to get Barry Trammel on the show," and he, just like you were recommended by a lot of people. Let's talk about the Hogs, man. I saw some funny comments from Taylor Green, just ready to play football, tired of lifting weights. He goes, I'm not saying I don't like it. We got to do it. He was covering his rear, but year 2 in the Petrino system. But I want to talk about the running backs at Arkansas, the receivers, the offensive line. Is Sam Pittman going to be myopically focused on the offensive line now that he feels more comfortable? I'm going to say this. Maybe he doesn't, but I think he does, having Mr. Petrino coaching the offense.
Well, I think he feels really good about that, obviously. The other thing is, that during spring practice, he coached out of a golf cart because of the hip, getting better. And obviously last year was very painful. You can tell how much better he feels just walking around. And he knows this is a big season for him, but he feels good about what he's got going. And part of that is that you have Petrino, running the offensive side, and the guys he has on defense running. He feels real good about them. When you keep your coordinators together for a few years, it helps continuity, especially. But, we sit here every week, and I talk about how I think that Taylor Green is going to make the jump his second year with Bobby Petrino, and I base that on what kind of coach I think Bobby Petrino is and just history. You can go back and look at his quarterbacks. He does he's not, I don't want to call him a quarterback whisperer, but he definitely does things that get the most out of the talent. And we all know that Taylor has an incredible amount of talent and gifted athleticism. And now it's just honing it into being a top-notch quarterback.
Well, there's cooks and then there are chefs. Bobby Petrino is, Wolfgang Puck, Gordon Ramsay. He ain't no Uncle Charlie in the kitchen.
I would say he was Wolfgang Puck, Gordon Ramsay early on. Now he's more Wolfgang. So.
Yeah. Because, my friend that worked for Gordon Ramsay said they've edited him and cleaned him up so much. That's not what he's really like. He's not that nice. But I will say this about Arkansas under Sam Pittman. He keeps them, they're tough. They're in every game, it seems like. Recruiting has got to get better for everybody. That's the lifeblood of it. But also player development. Switching over to the defense. I always go back to Travis Williams, Marcus Woodson. Your defensive backs are really good, but you got to have a good front push on the front seven. How much depth is there? And you see an improvement this year on the defense?
Yeah, I think not only do they have some freshmen that are going to contribute this year, they have the returnees. 2 of them are over 325 pounds. One of them's 385, and Ian Jaffrard. I do think they have a much better roster in terms of the defensive line. Some of it may be young, some of it transferred in, but they are better off. I mean, we talked about, I think we talked about it several times. With Vince would get on here on Wednesday with me, and he'd say, "Oh, Tennessee's got 12, guys that they can rotate." And I was sitting there, Arkansas's got like 4. Yeah. And I think that it's probably somewhere in between the 4 and 12 now, but they feel pretty solid about it. And I do think the optimism that they have about the defensive line extends to the second level. And also they have 5 safeties types that they feel much better about this year. Even though they had some guys transfer out, they feel much better about the overall depth, the overall versatility that they have. Because in these days offense, you can't. You're going to have to cover tight end. You're going to have to cover running back. You're going to have to cover wide receiver. You're going to have to do it all. It's no longer just back like when I was in Newport, just running up and trying to knock the hell out of somebody and hope that you separate them from the ball.
Yeah. Well, you look at that. Speaking of tight ends, Vanderbilt just kind of every blind hog finds an acre, and eventually Eli Stowers just shows up, former quarterback from A&M. That's what everybody wants. Or you wanted a Kyle Pitts like Florida had just a few years ago. I look at Arkansas overall. You talk so much, and you've taught me a lot about football. You're always learning. That top 44, they're good to go. It's 45 through 66, 67 through 85. Is there improvement there?
Yes, I do think there is. And, I think that one of the comments that Coach Pittman had last Thursday when he did his pre-camp press conference was they didn't used to be big enough. They didn't used to be fast enough. And whether they're big enough and fast enough to contend in the SEC right now is still left to be seen. But they are, I guess the proper word is say, look better getting off the bus. They look better out there practicing on the field. You can go see an SEC football team and you can tell the difference between an SEC team and a football championship series team. It's just very easy. And when Coach Pittman first got here, they tried to redirect everything. I think they've gotten to the point now where they like the dimensions, they like the athleticism, they like the quickness. All of those things factor into them being a better football team. You still got to execute. Biggest thing is you gotta quit making the turnovers. You got to get you some turnovers. That was a big thing last year. They sit around here and use the analytics and say, well, Arkansas would have won 9 games last year if it would have, all this some turnovers. That's got to be a key this year. And I've sat here and talked about Taylor a lot, but the defense has got to force some. Too many times last year, quarterbacks were able to sit back there in the pocket and just do what they wanted.
Well, and we're looking for Vince Ferrara. He said he would be on this morning. He's going to give us his best version of Kirk Gibson. Can you believe it? In the 1988 playoffs in the World Series.
He's hurt. Is he playing hurt?
Yeah. Vince had hip surgery. He's down at Mama Ferrara's in Tampa recovering, but he's still working, doing the show every day. We were talking and texting last night. But, I look at the Hogs. They've had really good tight ends, offensive linemen. You start getting skill players, running backs. I heard a person say, receivers are falling out of the sky. Well, the great ones, I wouldn't say they are, but having a route tree and guys that know how to run routes. And there was a great conversation last night I had on the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows on this show. And it was Lauren Meadows and I were talking with a guy that does the Gator Nation podcast. And I'm drawing a blank on his name. He's brilliant. It was really good. We talked about you got 4 wideouts, and then 2 of them are kind of just wasted. They're not even involved in the play. Bobby Petrino is really good at getting everybody involved in the play, which forces all the eyeballs on the other side of the line of scrimmage to be occupied. And then you do something kind of out of the ordinary. He scares me, having a quarterback in his system for 2 years. We've now, since we started doing this show with you, Taylon Green has gained 2 inches since last season. You think he's 6'8"? I'm with you. I've stood next to him. He's a lot taller than Diego Pavia.
True. Now, what I would tell you about the tight ends is I think even Coach Petrino would tell you that last year they were underutilized somewhat. You had 2 guys transfer out of here. Ty Washington's now at Notre Dame. If you've read some of the stories, he did not like the way it ended with him, but I don't think Arkansas did either. Obviously, Luke Haas is now at Ole Miss, but injured. What Arkansas has here now, tight end wise, for Coach Petrino and the offense and Taylor to work with is a guy from Denmark, a guy from Montreal, Canada, and 2 guys from the United States. One from Texas and I think the other's from California. But they feel good about what they've got there in terms of pass catchers. Certainly feel better from what I understand about blocking. So, that is going to be, I think, more of a weapon this year. And I think that's one of the things that you can do better if your offensive line is blocking and you're not running all over the place. That route tree you spoke of is a great idea. If you're getting blocked and you're able to step and into your throws and all those kind of good things. That was not the case a lot of times here last year. So I think tight end is going to be more utilized here this year. And I think in part that's because the offensive line, they expect, I'll never say they will, but they expect will hold up better this year, led by Fernando Carmona. And then you've got size over there as well. You've got Shaq, who is 6'8", 380 over on the offensive side. So transferred from Oregon. Talking about size, yes, I see Mr. Sip. Denmark, yes, they have Andre Plaski is from Denmark. Rohan is from Montreal, Canada. So,
well, look, I know where Denmark is. It's right outside of Jackson, Tennessee. But he's talking about the Denmark. I got you kidding. But Mr. Sip guy, smart. Glad to see Blind Squirrel Sports back from Buena Vista, Georgia. I thought he was, maybe he joined the Peace Corps. I wasn't sure, but this guy really knows his foot. We got some really smart people that watch this show. Vince, I texted him. Hopefully he'll be with us. But let's bounce around and get your thoughts. It was really cool with Barry Trammel. You're in that same, group of writers. You tell it like it is. You're not trying to curry favor with people. You're playing small to make other people around you feel less uncomfortable is a disservice. I've always been taught that. You tell it like it is. That top 25 coaches poll. I mean, those guys it looks like they just looked out of the rearview mirror at what happened last year. I don't see Ohio State. That's a rebuild, at least early on. Your thoughts on, let's just get to the top 10 alone.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to find out early on.
Yeah.
I know that the schedule starts on August 23rd with I think 5 games. I'm looking forward to watching those. But on August 30th, what's some matchups there? We're going to find out a lot we need to know about Ohio State and Texas playing each other, right away. And, you'll get some changing of the votes probably in the coaching poll after that game, because everybody is a prisoner of the immediate thing that's going on. I think there are a lot of tremendous coaches in in college football. A lot of them may not get the credit that they need to get. Some of them may get more credit than, you have a couple of years and you're ready to go. And I think that, it's tough for me to discern exactly who is as good a coach now as they were 5 years ago, because there's a different playing field. The NIL, transfer portal, player development, GMs, all this kind of stuff we have in here now. It's really hard. So I think you are, a prisoner of the immediacy of what happened last year.
Yeah. And you're on course to receive a 6-pack of Crystals with or without cheese, because we haven't mentioned those other 2 aforementioned topics that have been such a distraction. It's all ball, blocking and tackling. You know what? Some coach out there is going to be smart and go all retro and get him a good deal financially and wear some old polyester coach's shorts with a can of Skol in the back pocket and a T-shirt that says State or Coach on there with a whistle and an old ball cap. Might as well be you. I want you to write a column about that. Hogfield.net. You're putting out tons of content. Otis Kirk, that staff there. I hope they know how much people appreciate what they do. When Buddy Martin helps me, if he says, can you write a column, to get him to help you? Hey, Michelangelo, can you give me art lessons? And you are like that in terms of you love the craft. What do you see in written right now nationally that you go, that's insane? Your head's spinning around like that guy in the waiting room in Beetlejuice, remember going, yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell us the story.
Well, I tell you that what I do not understand is and this is, I'm straying away from football here. I do not know why they were trying to expand the NCAA basketball tournament. Just leave it at 64. Heck, I thought it was fine at 48, but try to go from 68 to 90 or whatever, or 64 to 90, whatever. In the tournament, I know they have their play-in games and all that, but that bothers me. I mean, just as I've talked about them here with football and talked about baseball, everybody tries to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes the wheel's okay. And, you had some teams, you barely had enough to get the 68 good teams in there last year. So I don't know that you need more. So that's kind of the stick in my craw, or, whatever you say about that right now. But I do think that, other than that, I bring up the NIL and transfer portal all the time, and I do enjoy covering college athletics. That's not my favorite, analysis of things, but you have to learn as you go along that you can't just yell, "You kids get out of my yard," especially if the yard seats 100,000.
That may be one of the best comebacks I've heard on this show. I like that. Get off of my lawn.
Oh, that's a Buddy Martin is. Get off my lawn. That's an old sportswriter like ism.
Buddy uses that one a lot.
Oh yeah, he uses it in the sense that I don't want to be that guy that get off the lawn guy. Hey, we're gonna bring in Vince Ferrara really fast, but I wanted to ask really fast to Dudley because I was talking to somebody about Arkansas. And they were telling me, I was trying to look for the quote where Pittman says, "For me to sit here and tell you I know everything about the wide receiver group, I'd be lying to you." Right? Talk about, I think, what you lose. The Arkansas lost, 9 wide receivers. Is that right this year? Yeah. 9. I didn't realize it was that many.
It's like a new season of Survivor or something. And 2 of the guys who Jaden Brown and Antonio Jordan, who's the fantastic high school kid from Warren that didn't go to any camps. He was a 5-star guy, but he only was a 3-star, because he didn't go to camps and all that. You know how they earn those stars and stuff. But that's 2 of the guys that I expect to be 2 of their better players. Omega Blake, you've got so many guys in that room that have a lot of potential. Cam Shanks is one of the better punt return guys, but he needs to be one of the better receivers too. That is as big an uncertainty as any room that they have.
Yeah. Let's bring in our Vanelli's Deli, Tennessee reporter.
We lost him.
Okay, we'll try to get Vince back. But I want to say, folks, Landers Ford.
Since he can't come on, Joey Aguilar. Joey Aguilar.
That's funny. Well, you were talking about Omega Blake. Rob and I were talking about. Is he from Charlotte? Is he coming as a transfer from Charlotte? Is that correct, Rob?
Yeah, UAB is Cam Shanks. I get them all confused. Omega Blake, Cam Shanks, they're UAB, Charlotte. They have a lot.
Jalen Brown's from Florida State.
Yeah. They have a lot of production at their other places. Now, will it transfer up here to, as what we know is at least one of the 2 best leagues in the country?
Yeah, at least one of the 2. The Big Ten trying to leave us at the deal. Vince Ferrara, Vanelli's Deli, Mi Amore, the Italian meatball sandwich, mortadella. How are you? How you feeling? Thank you so much for coming on here with us. I'll tell you what, it's all Vol. Let's go. Big Orange.
I appreciate it.
How are you feeling, Vince?
Thank you. I am great, Brendan. Great to be on with you, Dudley and Rob. I'm not. It's not like a world changing yet. I'm a week out. I had hip replacement surgery on my right hip a week, last Wednesday, and the surgeon said it went perfect. So that's the big thing. Certainly there's some obstacles in rehab that have kind of slowed me down and not being able to bounce around. Like some people have told me, "Oh, you're going to be great. You're going to be running around and, walking around easy." I've had a few aches and pains and swelling and that kind of stuff, but nothing that they say is abnormal. So I see a light at the end of the tunnel, which makes the work that I'm putting in now to rehab worth it. So I appreciate you asking, and we're on the right track.
I hope you've got a good cane, because pimping ain't easy.
I do. I don't want to use it very long. I'm still on the walker actually right now, so I'll feel better when I'm pimping with the cane, because that'll mean a progress going in the right direction.
Are you down there with Mama Ferrara in Tampa now?
No, at home. So sister came up. She drove back with me from Florida when I visited the family, and she stayed with me for the first week. She flew back yesterday, so she was great. That's the critical time. I figured out, everything else and how to manage solo and have friends that are helping out with Daphne and rides and stuff like that. So I'm functioning. I'm good, and we're rolling along. So.
Let me ask you this. You do such a great job of chronicling Tennessee. Josh Heupel, 4 years, 18 interceptions total for his quarterbacks. Does that make you think, okay, whatever turnover issues that Joey Aguilar had at App State, that you go, oh, now he's got Josh Heupel working with him every day. That's a big difference maker. Agree or disagree?
Well, I think he will be a better quarterback. Will it be good enough to upgrade from what we have seen from this offense? I don't know that, honestly, yet. We haven't seen enough of them. Their first scrimmage will be this Saturday. I think the way you're seeing it right now, in my opinion, it's a 2-quarterback race between Joey Aguilar and Jake Merklinger. Merklinger has looked pretty sharp, pretty accurate. He's the redshirt freshman from Savannah, Georgia. He's been in the offense. He knows it really well. And then Aguilar, who has a couple of years experience playing at App State, never played for UCLA. So, all accounts are that Aguilar's done everything. Merklinger has responded to the competition, but it's probably going to be TBD on how they do in those team settings that will ultimately determine who gets the starting nod. It's Aguilar's still the leader in my opinion, but it's probably those two because they've been splitting some first team reps. And then, because he's a true freshman and he's still pretty slender, George McIntyre from Nashville, I think he's third, and I think he understands he's third, but he's got a lot of potential for down the road. So, even if they improve the interceptions, Rob, that you mentioned, Nico Iamaleava and Joe Milton, they didn't throw a lot of interceptions. So even if that improves, that's not a guarantee that this offense is going to be better. They need to be more explosive down the field. I asked Joey Halsley, offensive coordinator, how they can get more explosive plays back in the offense like they had in 2022 with Hendon Hooker, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, those guys. And he said it is has been the number one focus of our offseason is teams would play 8-man coverage on them, right? That you see that a lot from defenses to offenses. They don't want to get beat deep, play 8-man coverage. What's your response? Throw it underneath, be safe, know where to go with the football. So you hesitate, you get sacked. So what is Tennessee's response to that? They needed to not only be at the quarterback position, they needed to be at wide receiver as well. And unfortunately, you guys are talking wide receivers. Tennessee has been banged up in an already really thin position. Oh, by the way, that means when guys aren't there, they're not able to get work. So that's a little bit of a concern right now, is that passing game. But it's got to be more explosive. It can't just be limiting interceptions.
Vince, looking at Tennessee, we're going down to Atlanta to see our daughter. She's moving in a new house, so we got to go down there opening weekend. I'm going to go to Tennessee, Syracuse. Okay. That's a hell of a matchup to open with. Fran Brown is a damn good coach. Came from Georgia. First year at the Qs, gets 10 wins. Don't tell me it's the ACC. We all know that. But you know what? It's all spits and giggles until you get down on the field when you're playing somebody. As Coach Spurrier said, they give scholarships too. That's a damn good matchup in game one.
Yeah, Syracuse is a 10-win team last year, came out of, I don't want to say nowhere, but because Fran Brown was still there, but they elevated big time last year. You had Kyle McCord, you had Pena, big time wide receiver who's now at Penn State. So they did lose a lot off of last year's team, but maybe they have answers and guys that fit into Fran Brown's scheme and culture to where even if they don't have the productivity, will come together and elevate and play well. I don't expect them to be a total walkover for Tennessee in game one, like I think a lot of fans do. And the fact that the line, I think at last check, was like 13.5. I mean, that's not domination. That's convincing with a couple of touchdowns, but it's not like Chattanooga or someone from the FCS. So, Tennessee has to be ready to play. You're breaking in a brand new quarterback regardless. You have a lot of new pieces on offense. The committee at running back, new receivers, 4 new starters on the offensive line with still some position battles there. So the defense, I think, will be really good. Once again, one of the better ones in the SEC and in the country. But still a lot of questions to just think, whatever. It's Syracuse. We're Tennessee. We're going to roll over them. I think fans should avoid that kind of mentality for game one. And then, if you're convincing, then you can pump your chest out a little bit more.
Yeah, we got about 4 minutes left. Dudley?
I've sat here thinking that Tennessee, Syracuse, that's quite an opener. A little bit, probably a better game than Arkansas and Alabama A&M. I think Arkansas, plays Arkansas State that second game. I think the biggest things in those two games, you're going to have to convince your players what we know, that those are good football teams, that those teams have been successful, that, it's not going to be some type of just show up and play Pacific or all these teams that Arkansas used to play back in the 70s and 80s and blow out 63-3 and all that. I enjoy greatly the matchups that we're seeing in the first couple of weeks of the season all over the United States now. I mean, it used to be just warm-up games. I'm liking these games where out of the chute where they're going at each other. And I think Tennessee and Syracuse is one of those.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. We had Gary Stoken on last Friday, the CEO of the Peach Bowl and Hall of Fame, and that kickoff classic is a big, big deal. Vince, man, I'll tell you, you will feel better. I had a friend who had hip replacement surgery. He was back on the bike riding with us within 8 weeks. So
did they do the invasive one where they go through the side, or the new or surgery where they come up through the leg or something like that? That's it.
The newer one is in the front. They call it anterior. The posterior is through the side. So that's probably why I have a little bit of slower recovery. But yeah, they went through the side, but he feels long-term stability, my size, all those kind of things. That was the way to go. But my surgeon, I've talked to him almost every day since the surgery. Like, where do you find that? He's been.
Well, you're a superstar, man. You're on this show all the time.
This is true.
You know what? You want to impress your surgeon? Don't call him a doctor. Call him a physician. That's what, like my dad, my mom's doctor, Dr. Jeff Warren. I call him a physician. That's the guys like Dr. David Arnoff down in the Panhandle who will make a house call. Give his name out. Let's give him some exposure. What's your doctor's name?
Yeah, it's Dr. Harold Cates. He's a veteran. He's been doing it for many years. Greatly recommended going in, and he has been all that and more at Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance. So big shout out to him and the staff. They've been great. And, if things go well, then they'll let me do the second surgery the earliest possible, which is 3 months afterwards. That'd be early November. That would mean recovery by the holidays and just be totally done with this. And that's the goal. So.
Hey, shout out to Dr. David Clay here in Fayetteville. Yes, when we do have an appointment, we spend the first 30 minutes him asking me questions about the Razorbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
The last 30 minutes.
Been happening my whole life, gentlemen. My whole life. Since I was old enough to talk. Your dad's Buddy Martin? Okay.
All right. Hey, man, we've run out of time, but Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, Vince Ferrara, our prayers with you and all of you. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We really mean that. We're the greatest country in the world, got the greatest producer, the greatest guests, and
bye,
viewers.
guys.
I mean, I can't thank you enough. We'll see y'all next week. All right. Let me say something real quick. Get out to Landers Ford. They've got the 25 expeditions in. Those new Broncos, man. The wives, the women love that Robin Egg Blue. They can order it for you with the retro Ford across the front. Take $500 off. Sidelines viewers. Let Brad Bellamy, the general manager, know you heard about them on our show. Blessed to have them. They're great people to work with. LandersFordMemphis.com. Hey, as we get older, how we fight is how we live. Rumble Boxing Gym at McLean and Union in Midtown, open every day of the week. 48 punching bags, weights, the workouts, intensity beyond belief. HewlettGun.com. Get out there on the square. And of course, those lights out gummies, man. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you later today. Auburn Undercover. Stay tuned to this channel every day. Thanks for watching.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, John Boy.